Alrighty, let's get the show on the road. Alrighty, so let's talk about the matchup we've got today. We've got the entire rest of the tournament, it seems, depending on whether grand finals will be played today and whether all the players are okay with it. But first off, we've got a very interesting one in Firestorm, otherwise known as Anomalous Aberration, versus Corona. So these are very skilled players. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't be here in top four. But Firestorm has not dropped a game the entire tournament, which is extremely impressive. I mean, Firestorm is arguably currently the best player on worldwide combos. That's what the rankings show. That's what his performance in Hard Drop Open Grand Finals shows. And like, I'm excited to see what Firestorm does today in this first to seven match. All right, here we go. It looks like we're kicking things off between Firestorm or Anomalous Aberration and Corona. And that is a quick TKI from Firestorm there. And he's just playing with enormous aggression right out of the gate, putting so much pressure into Corona. Corona able to downstack quickly enough, which is actually putting... Firestorm, some unfortunate misdrops there. We'll see if he's able to come back from that, but that's already two big KOs for Corona. Getting a little bit greedy there with the T-spins. And yeah, this is a rough looking game right off the bat from Firestorm. We'll see if he's able to pull it together a little bit here. But Firestorm is, again, as I said, probably one of the best players, if not the best, on the site right now. And I have faith that he will be able to maybe bring this one back. But Corona putting up an amazing fight here with a very impressive 3 KO lead. It's not something you see every day against a guy who hasn't dropped a game this tournament. But we'll see if Firestorm's able to start coming back. It does almost have the line lead, but they're very close. Corona playing very impressively, to be fair. Keeping the line lead as well. Even though Firestorm is sending these big spikes and finally is able to get the first KO, all Corona really has to do is hold on. Corona is really doing really well. Probably definitely one of the best players in their region, which I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of support. But yeah, Corona a little bit rough on the downstacking there. Eating a couple KOs, Firestorm playing super aggressive. That's an unfortunate misdrop there from Corona. And that's the third KO for Firestorm. Will Corona be able to hold out those last couple seconds? These are extremely crucial. Oh, Corona able to get another KO. Firestorm with a crucial game-losing misdrop. And that's going to be game one going to Corona. Super impressive showing for both players. Look at those 210 lines sent from Firestorm. Crazy round. Uh, mm. Noel, the tournament organizer and creator of the site in chat. Firestorm, big fan of the TKI today. Definitely starting out with that. Corona just stacking for a Tetris well, but able to counter the garbage that Firestorm is sending. Firestorm, it seems like, is making a lot riskier decisions, building up a little bit higher, and that puts him in a little bit of a scary position sometimes. But it seems like but Corona is sort of able to capitalize on that and able to downstack through that. And you see that from their respective board heights and Corona's sort of line lead. Now Corona's setting up an interesting 3-wide type build there, but we'll see if Corona is able to downstack that. Not in time. Big spike there from Firestorm as he tries to get down. Firestorm very good at being able to set up these T-spins in a very quick manner, which doesn't sort of get in the way of downstacking and covering as well. And that's definitely showing here. Corona just a small misdrop and already eating 3 KOs for it. And that's giving Firestorm a pretty darn big lead, including the lead in line sent. So we'll see if Corona is able to come back, even though things are looking a little bit rough. But we'll see. Corona was able to win game one, and Firestorm does have to eat another KO there. So we'll see if Corona can use that to their advantage. But Corona eating another KO there, uh, going a little bit too high and not sort of getting to the garbage in time, which is definitely something that can happen really easily against such a quick player as Firestorm. And yeah, Corona is having a little bit of trouble dealing with the aggression there. And that's really sort of coming into play here. Corona is not playing bad by any means. I mean, to get here, you can't play bad, right? But Firestorm is just sort of putting on the pressure. Almost 300 lines sent this game. Will he be able to make it happen, actually? Very close. But that is a dominating game right there from Firestorm. 295 lines sent is a crazy amount. And this is sort of why Firestorm is the current worldwide combos champion. But Corona, very impressive taking the first game. And here we're going right here into game three. We'll see if Firestorm will be able to hold on to their momentum. And here we come in. Firestorm starting with a C-spin and a nice floating T-spin on top of that. But Corona starting to get through all the garbage here. And oh, but it's a little bit cheesy, the garbage, and that's gonna knock out Corona. Uh, Now in a little bit of an awkward downstacking position, but able to get through a lot of it. But the cheese is always very difficult to get through, and Corona's sort of suffering from that. Oh, the unfortunate misdrop on the eyepiece is gonna lead to another KO there for Firestorm. And yeah, Firestorm, even with the little bit of a mishap game one, is playing extremely solid already in the second game. Yeah, Corona a little bit, I think of, I don't know if it's fear or sort of the pressure getting to him, but I think after game two, he isn't playing nearly as well this game. But Corona is a top player for a reason, and I can't wait to see what adaptations he pulls out. And right there, very nice spike there from Corona, gonna net him a KO. We'll see where it goes from here. Oh, unfortunate misdrop there from Corona. Now this is gonna be really awkward to get through for him, but we'll see if he's able to get through it. Does get through it. Oh, Firestorm while going choosing to four wide there, earning him two KOs. Oh, Corona is has a little bit of a glitched out screen, I believe. So we'll be focusing on Firestorm for the rest of the match here. And Firestorm, very nice T-spin setups here. Not being sent too much garbage, so he's sort of be able to build to his heart's content. And the little garbage that he is being sent and unable to cancel, he's able to get through nicely with sort of T-spins, which sort of mitigates the cheese aspect and lets him keep a very nice sort of line sent to lines, to lines cleared ratio. And that's the breaking 300 lines there. Firestorm, extremely impressive game. I do not know what's going on Corona's screen right now, but Nadal, fix your site. I mean, nothing. But here you go. That's game three going to Firestorm. I hope this isn't frozen. Hopefully, hopefully, hopefully this isn't frozen. I'm gonna reload this real quick just to make sure it is not frozen. Let me check here. Okay. Wait. So this is interesting. Oh, here we go. Are we back? Okay. It looks like the win counted for Firestorm. I don't know if there are technical issues there for Corona. If they are, I think they'd probably both agree to a rematch. But that was pretty unfortunate what did happen. I don't see anything in the official Worldwide Combos Discord from Corona. And here we go. Firestorm starting off with a C-spin. Dagero would definitely be proud here there. But Corona is having a little bit of trouble getting through this garbage here. But is able to get to it. And, oh, I was going to say, it's looking like going to clean it up very nicely. But then all of a sudden, eats the KO there. And Firestorm, already 75 lines sent, just does not stop piling on the garbage. He's playing so solid right now. It's amazing. It's almost inhuman, just the sort of speed. Nice forecast there from Firestorm. But that's that's an unfortunate misdrop there. Able to skim back down to the T-spin. But Corona keeping a very nice clean stack here. able to sort of get the T-spin and in very like definitely showing a lot of wisdom here, which may not have been as much present in the speed limit tournament, where Corona is sort of able to recognize when it's not worth going for a T-spin and where down stacking is more vital. And this is sort of what puts these guys in the upper echelon of players here, is they're not only their impressive speed, but also their sort of wisdom in decision making. And that's definitely very clear here. Firestorm would have had a perfect clear there if there were not many lines of garbage below him. And we'll see if Corona's able is yeah, it takes the KO to set up the T-spin triple, but I don't know if that's a worthwhile decision there. Now a whole long bar over the garbage hole, and yeah, that's another KO. Firestorm, a bit of a messy field here. Very high up actually, very risky play. We'll see if he's able to downstack this. But yeah, Corona looking like there might be a spike coming. Maybe Corona can turn this one around. But no, Firestorm back down to as well, earning a fourth KO and sealing up game four, it looks like. Yeah, Corona a bunch of misdrops there as well. Very unfortunate end to the game there. But uh, all right, so Firestorm here definitely has the momentum, even when dropping the first game. But we'll see how Corona is able to adapt. Corona also an extremely strong player, and we'll see. Also, Noel, there were similar glitches like that in HDOX. Not like that, but there were sort of unfortunate, glitchy looking moments. I do suggest you watch the VOD. All right. Firestorm starting with a PC opener. Does not see the PC. I did not see if there was one, but I'd assume not. And both players having very clean stacks. Corona unable to get the T piece over. Oh, and that's a costly misdrop there. Immediately eating 3 KOs, might be even more. Oh, Corona, very nice down stack combo, and that's gonna sort of reverse some of the damage done by Firestorm's crazy spikes there. But right now it's looking a little scary there. Firestorm pretty close to the top, pretty risky decisions there, but it does pay off. Nets him another KO, and he's able to get out of the situation safely. Uh, Corona is still playing very quickly and able to downstack through most of this, but the Firestorm sort of garbage assault is just going very quickly here. And Corona's sort of struggling to deal with it. Very nice STSD there from Corona. And Firestorm here with a very nice, I believe that's Prophecy, but a cut copy, sorry. I get my words mixed up sometimes. Yeah, Corona banking a little too hard on that T-spin instead of downstacking, and that's sort of gonna cost him a lot there. Eating another couple KOs, and Firestorm a crazy lead here. 9 KOs. How often do you see that in a semifinals? Not that often, I'll tell you that, chat. Um, so we'll see if there you go, Firestorm breaking into the double digits there, and Corona stacking a little high over the garbage wells, especially, and sort of eating a lot for trying to stack for Tetrises. Even though Corona, I think Corona's sort of thinking about what might be biggest and fastest to send in terms of garbage, but it doesn't seem to be working out just because Firestorm spikes come so quickly that you don't have the time to downstack the Tetrises or the Tetris wells in time. And yeah, 13-4, a dominating match there. Timer's a little broken, but let's hope the match kind of ends there. Uh, there we go. All right. But yeah, dominating victory there for Firestorm. We'll see if Corona's able to make the necessary adaptations to come back in this set. But right now, things are looking a little bit grim. Alrighty, so Corona is setting up, again, is a very clean stacker always. It's just difficult to sort of get through the super quick garbage that Firestorm keeps sending. And I think that's sort of what is giving Firestorm the big edge here, is just the sort of vast speed of the garbage being sent. Yeah, Corona, a couple of misdrops, a little bit of messy stacking there, but able to net a KO. Oh, these are really unfortunate misdrops. Whenever you get KO'd in worldwide combos, um, the last piece you place, which a lot of the time is sort of hindered by the KO screen, uh, can get in your way. and it can lead to sort of a fatal misdrop type situation. Um, but yeah, Corona's stack looking pretty messy. I think also some glitchiness appearing there, but that's really how quick it can go in a game like Worldwide Combos, where just you make one sort of misdrop and then you get KO'd twice or thrice for it, and then it's just a whole pile of misdrops that are extremely difficult to downstack. And yeah, this is looking like an extremely solid game here from Firestorm, and I don't know exactly what's going on, but that this is why this game is in beta, folks. But yeah, I'm curious to see actually what the technical sort of issues are from Corona's point of view. But yeah, we'll see how the next game shapes up. But yeah, impressive 17 to 1 KOs there from Firestorm. And you can also just see from the line sent that Firestorm is no slacker. Sending 239 lines in 1 minute and 20 seconds. That's just a crazy number. And that's sort of what makes these top players stand out, is not only their sort of decision making, which I keep talking about, but also just their insane speed. And there we go, 5-1, a pretty good lead here for Firestorm. But I don't know how accurate that is based on round cancellation. We'll have to see the tournament organizers ruling on that. But in the meantime, I think these players are going to keep playing. All right, here we go. Corona starting off with a perfect clear opener. Uh, and Firestorm trying to find the PC as well, but neither player finding the perfect clear. Corona able to get through the garbage very quickly though. Firestorm as well though, and able to building a little bit of a risky fractal there. Oh, misdropping it. Very unfortunate there from Firestorm, netting Corona the KO. And another lead finally in one of these games, which is good to see. Uh, and Corona mounting a sort of a very nice play here. Having a line lead against Firestorm in terms of line sent is extremely difficult, and Corona did have it for a good portion of this game. Does have to eat a KO there, putting Corona back at a deficit there. But Corona definitely showing why they got this far in the tournament, with the sort of potential they're showing here. So Corona, a little bit of cheese here. We'll see. Oh, too difficult there to downstack in time. And oh yeah, eating a lot of KOs. Firestorm spikes are just crazy and fast and massive. And there you go, double T-spin there from Firestorm. Another one right on top, and another Tetris or two to pile on that. And Corona is just tanking a lot of garbage here, and it's just a little difficult. But a very nice retaliation there from Corona, netting a second KO. The Corona setting up a nice Tetris well. I think that's sort of an attempt to keep the stack clean and to be able to get to downstack garbage as fast as possible. And it does seem to be working out a little better than in previous games. Nice S-spin there from Corona to clean up the stack. Ooh, STMB cave there too. Does break back to back for it though, which is always unfortunate when you're going too fast and you break back to back because of a mishap or sort of misreading the pieces. But both players playing extremely quickly here. Firestorm, nice T-spin setup to also open up the well. I've been seeing that a lot from Firestorm, and it's extremely impressive how sort of the T-spin setups sort of open up his well. And yeah, another convincing win for Firestorm. But Corona's still also that game, definitely showing um, why Corona is as good as they are. Did you cancel the two weird rounds, Noah? We do need to remember that the spectator's point of view and the uh, player's point of view are different. But if both players agree, there's obviously not going to be an issue with it. Um, Alrighty here. So Firestorm starting off with some quick T-spins here, getting sort of a huge quantity of damage dealt already. 3 KOs in the first 20 seconds is a massive lead here. Corona sort of trying to be a little complex with getting a little clever with the T-spins, and the status. Oh, unfortunate misdrop there from Corona, and it does look like that's going to cost a little bit. Um, but yeah, Corona trying to get through all this. all this garbage, not getting enough long bars, but they're finally another long bar. But does it come fast enough? Not really. And Corona does tank all that garbage. Now stacking in an interesting 8-1 system, which we don't really see from top players a lot, just because it isn't always the best. But it's definitely something very situational, and I can definitely see why Corona went for that there. But it does seem to be having its consequences here, and Corona another fatal misdrop and Firestorm just keeps piling on the pressure. It's like a machine. Firestorm has just been going at it today, and even after dropping the first game, after that we've seen no dips in skill and play from Firestorm. It's just been crazy. And yeah, it's also very unfortunate when you stack based on the location of your garbage holes, because when you get KO'd, your garbage holes change. So what used to be a T-spin with one line of garbage is now just an awkward 3-block hole that you have covered up. And I think that's sort of what's happening to Corona here. And I think that's sort of what's sort of costing Corona, not giving Firestorm sort of the magnitude of lead that he's getting, is that Corona is stacking very much according to sort of the positioning of garbage. And yeah, there you go, 363 lines sent from Firestorm. That's just his vast aggression coming into play there. Extremely impressive. That is that what is there a record, Noel? Do we have data on that? That would be pretty interesting. But 363 is definitely a crazy number of lines sent. All right, here we go. Corona starting off with a PC opener, but eating garbage from Firestorm's Albatross too quickly there to be able to execute it in time. Very lucky garbage there. Oh, but it doesn't even matter because Firestorm's able to KO before Corona clears the garbage. And Corona it's playing still very solid, not really phased. But oh, here we go. Unfortunate misdrop there from Corona. Right as I say that they're not phased, the commentator's curse. But we'll see if Corona's able to get through all this. But this is definitely giving Firestorm a significant sort of edge when it comes to speed and sort of line sent and also KOs. But nice spike there from Corona. Very good sort of holding the pieces until they were needed. But those are some very unfortunate misdrops, and we're going to have to see how Corona downstacks this. Does manage to get down, but the T piece there unfortunately gets caught because of the KO from Firestorm. And we'll see Firestorm already at 12, 13 KOs. Uh-oh, this looks like it might be another round that's getting canceled here. Very unfortunate there. But Firestorm, it's really sort of showing his prowess here. Uh, he sent how many lines last game? This is also a crazy setup there from Firestorm. Did anyone else see that? That was amazing. Was that sort of like a DT cannon, but floating so that it was TSS and a TSD? That's extremely impressive there. Firestorm just kind of showing the technical prowess that he has. And I don't know whether Corona's either given up or uh, whether the site has glitched out. But we'll see Noel's ruling on it. Does look like it's 6-1 here. Or not. Oh, they're here. All right, here we go. Corona immediately misdropping the perfect clear. Firestorm getting a little bit of a late start there and unable to PC as a result. But able to sort of get down to the garbage that was sent from Corona in that time interval. And Corona now in a rough spot here. Sort of is panicking a little bit when they're very high up, Corona is. And I think that's sort of costing sort of not only time, but it's also leading to more garbage being sent and just guaranteeing the KO from Firestorm. But it's definitely not sort of to me trying to call that a detriment, because when you're very high up, it's very easy to panic, especially in a tournament situation, even for top players like Corona. So seeing that happen is just, it's part of the game for sure. And now Firestorm, a little bit of sort of a misdrop there, but able to fix it. Now Corona with a very unfortunate board. We'll see if he's able to skim back down to that T-spin. but it's looking pretty difficult here. Nice Imperial Cross setup. We'll see if he's able to execute it in time. He is. And yeah, getting down to the nice clean well there. Is he going to be able to send a KO on a second one to Firestorm? Firestorm playing a little slow there. There you go. A little bit of panic. Nice DT cannon setup though. Even if it is a little bit greedy, but it does work out here in the end. And yeah, Firestorm is making a lot of sort of risky decisions, but they do seem to be paying off here. I commentated HDO Grand Finals unofficially with Dalicious, another player, and this was sort of true in his play there as well. That was where he had sort of claimed his crown of the best worldwide combos player. And yeah, a little bit of glitchiness there happening on Corona side there. So we're going to be focusing on Firestorm. Very creative build here from Firestorm. And there you go. That looks like the set. So congratulations to Firestorm, but an amazing run from Corona. Studied the bracket earlier. Corona beat Cubix Creature, who's also an extremely talented player, and taking a game off Firestorm is definitely also a very impressive feat. So amazing run from Corona, and I can't wait to see how Firestorm plays in the grand finals. Alrighty, here we go. All right. So next up, we have our other semifinal between Cheap and Eddie. All right. That didn't mess anything up, right? Okay, nice. All right. Me as well, Noel, but let's hope the same doesn't happen between Cheap and Eddie. So to be completely honest, the last two players I did not know nearly as much about as I do these two. I've played both of these guys in tournament, both extremely nice players, and as well as extremely talented. Uh, I do know them both from the Tetris Tuesdays tournament series, where I do believe they face each other quite a bit, just because they both tend to perform extremely well. And I do believe Cheap is winning this sort of head-to-head record lately, but we'll see. Their sets are always extremely good, and I can't wait to see what happens between these two players. All right, here we go. Starting the set, Cheap and Firestorm. All right, Cheap starting off with the DT cannon. I think the first one we've seen all day, and able to get that off in time. All right, here we go. So Eddie is in a little bit of a tough spot already here, but is able to sort of downstack that. Oh, but right as I say that, eating a KO. We'll see what sort of happens here. Eddie deciding to take that kind of T-spin single instead of opening up the garbage hole. And I think that might have given Cheap another KO there. Cheap playing already extremely quickly and aggressively. And you can sort of see that from the play there. Deciding not to go for that T-spin triple and instead downstacking. And it does look like that was a wise decision there, as Cheap's now able to get down and continue pressuring Eddie here. Uh, Cheap trying to able to get down very quickly. Eddie uh, is able to sort of Cheap couple there, very unfortunate misdrops there. We'll see if he's able to get through that, but this is a really rough spot. I mean, he does have the lead in KOs, but if he can't make something crazy happen quick, he's going to be eating a lot of KOs here. Very nice ability there from and dealing with the misdrop, and Eddie now with a misdrop of his own because of that KO that he just ate. We'll see if he's able to get the necessary T-pieces in time, but unfortunately misdrops a second T-piece. Extremely rough spot here for Eddie. And we're going to need to see if he can come back from it. Oh, and that looks like that's an early top out from Eddie. That's not something you see a lot. But I think as Firestorm's saying, Eddie's playing a little bit safe. I know Firestorm's clearly a big believer in aggression, as you see from his play. A lot of sort of risk taking, but a lot of those risks are definitely paying off. And you can see that from Cheap's sort of vast waves of garbage that he's sending, where Eddie has not been sending nearly as much. All right, and here we go into game two. We'll see if Eddie is able to make the sort of necessary adaptations, but it does look like Cheap immediately off to another strong start here. Able to sort of just play crazy quickly. Nice floating T-spin there. And that's a quick early 40 line lead in the first 30 seconds. And I mean, their Tetris Tuesdays sets are a lot closer than this. Maybe Eddie isn't nearly as used to worldwide combos. But oh, here we go. Cheap, a little bit of a rough spot there. Able to sort of get out of it with only one KO. I think maybe, as Firestorm's been saying, Eddie playing a little bit safe there, making sure that he doesn't eat anything of his own in the meantime, instead of sort of capitalizing as much as he could be. And I think that's definitely showing here. Cheap does eat another KO, but back to a very nice clean stack. Eddie's very nice stack here as well, been playing this game a lot better. Definitely very close game, especially in comparison to the first one here. And Eddie, very clean stacking. 5-4 stacking isn't the most common stacking method either, but it's definitely seeming to work here. Cheap, nice T overhang there. But yeah, Cheap, a little bit of danger here. Eddie definitely making those necessary adaptations. Cheap able to get the KO in time and does have the line lead, so he's looking to be in a pretty good position to win this game. Unless Eddie can make something crazy happen here. But Cheap is just I think he has the speed edge. And I think since down stacking is so important in a game like Worldwide Combos, uh, I mean it's important in every Tetris game to be fair, but I think the sort of the way these two are playing their set, uh, where Eddie isn't being super aggressive and Cheap is just able to down stack through most of it. I think that's sort of the critical thing that's happening here. And yeah, Cheap taking game two, but a lot closer this time. Eddie definitely putting up a fight. And we'll see if Eddie is able to turn game three in his own favor. Eddie hasn't started yet. It's 3 seconds late starting there. We'll see if that has and definitely has an impact on line sent generally, just because that's 3 seconds where you could have been sending lines. Cheap with an STSD here, but yeah, a little bit risky there. But that the spike was large enough so that Eddie almost is eating a KO of his own. Does get through the garbage though, so this is giving an Eddie a nice lead here to start off this game. But Cheap getting it right back, saying no, 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 you can have your lead, but not for very long. And Eddie, unfortunate miss drop there. We'll see what he's able to turn this into, but it does look like he's panicking a little bit here, and he's just taking KO after KO. Uh, but able to sort of get down a little bit. It's very cheesy garbage, I feel like Cheap's been sending, especially in comparison to the last match. A lot more cheese we see from these players. But Cheap is sort of able to convert those into T-spins, where I think Eddie is just sort of struggling more to get down. And as Firestorm said in the chat, WWC favors fast players, and Cheap's slight speed edge, I think, is also giving him sort of the ability to just send that garbage fast enough. A nice spike there from Eddie, but it does look like it might be a little too late. Ooh, Cheap, unfortunate misdrop there, but he's been down stacking very cleanly so far this set, and that has not changed in that situation. Very clean recovery there from Cheap. And here we see Eddie trying to sort. He's not playing very aggressive, I feel. Focused very much on down stacking. I think that was also what cost QMK in Hard Drop Open Grand Finals that set, just because it was more of a focus on down stacking, which to be fair is QMK's strong suit. But I think we see sort of Cheap just playing the aggression game, and I think it's just working out well. Even with these constant misdrops, almost double the line sent from Cheap compared to Eddie. And you definitely see how that speed advantage is kind of turning the game towards Cheap's favor. All right, here we go. Uh, Eddie going for a perfect clear, not seeing it in time, if there was one. Cheap immediately stacking again, very clean stacking, a very big spike there as well. Eddie immediately eating a KO, but very clean garbage here. Looks like a lot of spiking potential, and right as I say that, Eddie does execute that spike uh, on Cheap, but Cheap able to get right back in it and spike Eddie back. And Eddie in a little bit of a rough spot here. If he can reach the garbage, It'd be very nice and a very clean down stack or a very clean thing to get through. That spike does look like it's put Cheap in a little bit of danger, but not enough for a KO there. And Cheap able to get through it all, able to counter the garbage with his own, and that sort of put him into a good position again. All right, Eddie getting through a lot of garbage. Sheep a little bit too much of thought there, and that sort of put him into a dangerous spot. But you can definitely see sort of the aggression and Eddie struggling to deal with it and struggling to clear down those lines. Very nice C spin there from Cheap, and that's also how you see Cheap is very much focused on the aggression aspect of the game, where he's going for all these C spins and these aggressive options, and it's just netting him these KOs. Eddie did manage to get 3 KOs so far this game. Very close match again. These two have it's been a very close set so far. Uh, but Cheap again, more risky stacking, but it does seem like that's paying off for him. A little bit of a misdrop there from Cheap, but a very quick S-spin to fix it, and that's looking to put him in a 6-3 lead, and it's looking pretty good for him winning this game. Yeah, yeah, and even with these last attempts there from Eddie, each netting one more KO, that's going to be game 4 going to Cheap. Uh, Cheap has not dropped a game in bracket. He dropped 2 games in pools to Fizzle and Zach, but in the bracket he's not dropped the game. Much like Firestorm was until his last set. Whereas Eddie dropped quite a few games to Delicious, um, which is sort of how you see, I guess, Cheap's ability to just be consistent and not crumble in any cases. And I think sort of with Cheap's play here, even when he does make mistakes, he's able to get through them and dig through them in time. And I think that's sort of what's giving Cheap sort of the advantage here, where Eddie just cannot dig through the garbage in time while still being aggressive and sending his own garbage. And Eddie, a little bit of interesting stacking there, making himself a little piece dependent, but it does work out for him and net him a KO there. Cheap stacking quite high here, but it does seem to have paid off there, and a big spike there. Eddie will need to try to downstack that, does not get there in time, and Cheap again stacking very high, but it does seem to be working for him. Oh, unfortunate T-piece misdrop there from him, and he does manage to get the I spin in there, but does look like that might be a nice easy KO there for Eddie. Cheap able to get down through all that though, and with a nice S spin there is able to sort of put Eddie there in another dangerous spot after getting back to his clean garbage. Eddie with a little bit of graphical glitches there, um, but Cheap able to sort of able to keep putting on the pressure there. A little bit of a misdrop there. We'll see if that costs him anything. Oh, here we go. 3 KOs each. Down to the last 18 seconds. We'll see if Eddie's going to be able to take this game. Cheap does manage to net another KO, so Eddie's going to need to make something happen if he wants a chance at winning this game. And a lot of these games have been super close between each other, but it does look like Cheap is going to end up with this game. Even with that last second misdrop there, able to just stall it out in time. All right, let's see if Eddie's going to be able to adapt to what Cheap has been thrown at him, and we'll see if he sort of tries a new strategy or not. But it doesn't really look like it. Cheap going back to DT Cannon, a little bit of a messed up stack here from Cheap. We'll see if he's able to dig through that in time. Does dig through it. Eddie not sending as much garbage as he could be, I feel. And I think that's sort of what let Cheap get out of that pickle there. But I think in a grand final setting, because it certainly looks like Cheap is going to be facing Firestorm in the grand final if it keeps going this way. But right as I say that, commentators curse Cheap with some unfortunate misdrops there. We'll see if he's able to clean through this. Does look like he will be. Missed STSD opportunity there a little bit, but a very nice, what is it, Z prop to uh, continue the aggression there. And yeah, Eddie just seems to be getting the long pieces just a little bit too late. right when the right after he needs them, right after the KO happens. And Eddie, when he's down stacking, he isn't doing so as aggressively. Where Cheap just really seems to be making T spins out of those garbage holes. And yeah, Eddie C very high up there, but still not putting on a lot of pressure when he downstacks through things like that. And I think that's sort of what's giving Cheap the edge, as since they're both such high APM players in general, but Cheap is just managing to send so many more lines in comparison to Eddie uh, in terms of on the getting back down. And Cheap, I feel like even tends to take risks, prefers to take a death rather than stop sort of sending lines well. And that might be a good strategy for a game like this, because if you can just keep putting on the pressure, your opponent will fall to a KO at some point. And yeah, there you go. A 5-2 game again from Cheap. Not the most line sent that we've seen from either player, but this is looking pretty crispy here from Cheap. And a 7-0, a win in the semifinal, it's definitely a statement if he's able to manage it. All right, here we go. Eddie go looking for an interesting sort of three wide strategy here. Cheap, unfortunate eyepiece misdrop there. Does manage to get back down in time before Eddie's garbage comes in there. And now back to a relatively even playing field. Uh, Eddie able to sort of clean through his garbage. Oh, but unfortunate J piece misdrop there, and you can definitely see Eddie being a lot cleverer there with his garbage compared to the last couple games, turning it into a T-spin and a Tetris. And that spike is what gave him another KO. We'll see if he's able to sort of use that new information, what worked there to adapt. But very nice misdrop fix there as well from Eddie. But eating a KO there, very close match this game, especially even in terms of line sent, where Cheap tended to be the more aggressive player in past matches. Oh, but here we go. Eddie a little bit nervous here. You see that from his play. Been a lot more hesitation, a lot more uncertainty. And even with Cheap's extremely risky stacking, which just cost him a KO, it's definitely paying off here. From that one situation, Cheap managed to garner a KO in contrast, or two KOs in contrast to Eddie's one. And it's sort of his decisions in those kinds of situations that are keeping him uh, and succeeding this long. And the 5-3 KO lead, Eddie's going to need to make something happen to stay in this tournament for a little bit longer. But yeah, Cheap, interesting stacking there. A little bit shady there, I'd say. But it does manage to make that work. Did use a lot of eyepieces there, but 230 lines, very impressive. And yeah, here we go. 7-0 win for Cheap. Cheap was just able to keep his stack very clean and fix the misdrops just a little bit faster than Eddie, and that was really all that it took for them to for that to end. All right, all right. Let's see if these players want to play finals now. If not, this will be the end of the stream. But mm, not gonna lie, guys, it's pretty difficult talking that fast. Like, oh, you're going. It looks like they're going to. Here we go. Um, yeah, they will need to create a custom match and send me the link, please, because otherwise we can't spectate. All right, thank you for the link, Firestorm. Appreciate it. Uh-oh, this is not good. Alright, thank you, mods. I appreciate that. Does not look like the link is working. Here we go. I was ready for this. Let's see. Here we got 42 matches currently being played. There should be... Never mind. It's not there. Unless it is. It is not. Okay. Don't know why this is an error. Shouldn't be, though. No, it looks like it's loading now, which is fortunate. Yeah, don't set it as private, please. Otherwise, we can't spec, unfortunately. But yeah, let's hope we're able to fix that. Yeah, Noel, I don't know why that exists in the first place. But, right, I hope they haven't started their set yet, because that would be very unfortunate to not catch that on stream. It'd be very unfortunate to... Oh, is that starting now? Oh, I think they might have started, unfortunately, is what this means. Oh, here we go. Perfect. Thank you so much for making that public. And yeah, it looks like we're going to be ready to start soon. Grand finals here. Firestorm against Cheap. The best player on the site against an up-and-comer looking to improve. Can't wait to see how this one turns out. Alrighty, here we go. Game 1, Firestorm against Cheap. And Cheap starting off a little bit earlier there. Firestorm, oh, immediate misdrop there from Firestorm. But this is also what we saw against Corona. Dropping the first game, but then immediately making the necessary adaptations for the next couple games. And Cheap with a little bit of a line lead here so far. But Firestorm able to sort of stack clean with a little bit of a hesitation there from Cheap. Getting maybe a little nervous here in this grand final setting and eating a KO for it. Yeah, this is looking already pretty rough for Cheap in the first game, but we'll see if he's able to make the adaptations here and come back. Firestorm is not able to downstack in time, and Cheap does get a KO of his own, in almost a second one actually, but good garbage canceling there and downstacking as well from Firestorm. And here we go. Cheap trying to go for another T-spin there, but unable to get it off in time, eating a KO. Nice floating T-spin there from Firestorm, and goes for a little bit of a greedy setup there, but knows to cancel that, and still manages to get the KO on Cheap here. And Firestorm still playing very clean, no significant misdrops other than right at the beginning. And yeah, Cheap's definitely having a difficult time here dealing with Firestorm's constant pressure. And I mean, who wouldn't? Because, again, there's a reason Firestorm's here in the grand finals, because he can play this fast and this well and this consistently. And Firestorm already 224 lines sent, and that's sort of just showing his crazy aggression that he has. 5-1 KOs here. Cheap, it's not like he's playing poorly, but it's just very difficult for him, I guess, to deal with the quick garbage. As I say that, though, very nice second KO there from Cheap. But it does look like this is the end of this game. And that's a pretty dominating way to win the first game for Firestorm. But we'll see if Cheap is able to adapt. Alright, here we go. So we got a C-spin starter, or opener rather, starter, from Firestorm here. But both players playing very well, very aggressively. And you see Firestorm even stacking over his own sort of misdrops or garbage holes, and that cost him a KO there. But we'll see if he's able to sort of get down and through that, or if he's going to go down through that at all. and he still has not cleared that hole there, which has sort of, I think, also prevented him from sending as much garbage as he could be. And that's given Cheap a second KO here. The first real big lead here after a significant time here for Cheap. And Cheap, three KOs already. Really good, really nicely able to capitalize on Firestorm's misdrops here. As I say that, unfortunate misdrops here from Cheap. We'll see if he's able. Nice forecast there from Cheap to fix his misdrop, but does eat a KO for it, and that puts Firestorm back in the lead. Uh, we'll see if Cheap is able to sort of grab another KO, but right now it's looking pretty difficult for him as he's very close to topping out himself. And that's another top out there from Cheap. But still 4-3, very close match here. Anything can still happen. Cheap can definitely still turn this around. All it takes really is one misdrop. But as I say that, Firestorm nagging another KO, nabbing rather, and that's definitely sort of showing how Firestorm very aggressive stacking there, and yeah, Cheap is really having trouble dealing with sort of Firestorm's huge spikes and crazy speed combined. And yeah, it looks like that is going to give Firestorm this win in game two. Alrighty, game three, starting strong here. Firestorm getting the first PC we've seen all day from any player. First perfect clear. But Cheap able to get through that garbage super quickly, actually. And we'll see. Oh, unable to capitalize there, really, on Firestorm there. Uh, Maybe a couple flubs himself, or maybe a little bit of panic here. That tends to happen a lot when your opponent is sort of at the top of the screen and you're about to get the KO. Then there's always pressure to sort of make the final blow and put the last nail in the coffin, and it's very difficult a lot of the time. Uh, to sort of do that. And now the KO forcing Cheap into an unfortunate misdrop there. Able to clean that up very nicely, but if he can't get to his garbage in time, but he does get to his garbage in time, that nets him a nice KO there. Oh, but as I say that, Firestorm going through his own garbage, massive spike there from Firestorm. And this is sort of why we see uh, his play his play goes so quickly and so aggressively is that's why we see him succeed is because he's just able not only to send the quantity of damage that he does, but just his ability to send it all in one go. And yeah, these are some really unfortunate misdrops here from Cheap. Uh, Actually, it's a spectating glitch, so we'll focus on Firestorm's side here. But that's 12 KOs here already for Firestorm, and this is going to be really rough for sort of Cheap to get through here. Uh, I think Firestorm is just sending the garbage too fast, is how it seems. It's only in his matches so far that this glitch has been occurring, and yeah, that it's definitely showing because 300 lines in 2 minutes is a crazy garbage output ratio, and that is sort of how you see uh, that is why he is the champion of this game. And with the current score, it definitely looks like he will be the champion of this game after this tournament still. Unless Cheap is able to pull something out of his hat. And here we go. Quick TKI there from Firestorm. Able to grab a quick KO from Cheap, punishing that overly aggressive stacking. 41 lines sent after not even 15 seconds. But Cheap able to strike back here. Some nice T-spins here and sort of garbage sending from Cheap to sort of spike Firestorm into oblivion. And back to 2-2 KOs. Firestorm, oh, a little bit of unfortunate stacking there. Made a T-spin over his garbage hole and wanted to execute it, but got the piece one too late. And that was sort of ended unfortunately for him. Yeah, Cheap playing really well here, but unable. But now Firestorm just able to keep playing clean, still playing it extremely well. Even though cheap, oh, he had a nice garbage well there, but unfortunately unable to clear the garbage in time. And yeah, a little bit of risky stacking there from Firestorm, especially so high up. But it definitely, I think that's also a lot of awareness of the other player. Realized Cheap didn't have anything immediately to send to him, and realized it was safe to go for that kind of stacking. And it definitely looks like that paid off. And this is sort of why Firestorm is definitely considered one of the best Tetris players. Is his awareness on top of everything else, we've mentioned, is also just his awareness of the other player. And they're going for a T-spin triple there, which did turn out to be safe. Cheap did not have anything. Oh, unfortunate misdrop there from Cheap, sort of falling apart here, it looks like. And we'll see if he's able to bring this back. But with an 8-3 lead and 12 seconds to go, that's what a crazy perfect clear mid game from Cheap. Actually, that was extremely impressive. But it looks like that won't be enough. 215 lines is a big number, but when countered with 343, there's not much you can do there. Not a bad game by any means for Cheap. Just Firestorm just kind of showing why he is the king with the huge number of lines sent there. Here we go. Cheap, a very huge spike here right off the bat. And that clean garbage didn't even net him a KO, which is a little surprising actually. He cleared through that so quickly, but does look like that wasn't enough there to net a KO. And we'll see if Cheap is sort of able. Here we go. Unfortunately, eating a KO there. Firestorm just playing so quickly, even so high up, is able to always find the right down stack combo that he needs. Oh, but Cheap netting 2 quick KOs. Massive spike there. Extremely impressive. And that's going to put Cheap in the lead for a little bit here, as well as with a line lead here. Cheap playing very well, very cleanly this game, especially. And we'll see if Firestorm is able to come back or whether Cheap will be able to net his first win here. Cheap still almost with the line lead. Not doesn't have the line lead anymore, um, but still very close in line sent. And we'll see if Cheap is sort of able to come back. Oh, third KO there from Cheap and back the line lead. Cheap has not held a huge lead this far into a game so far. And we'll see if he's able to sort of hold on to this. If he can just manage to not eat another KO here. Oh, but that's very impressive. Cheap able to put the pressure on even further. Fourth KO there from Cheap. Firestorm, a little bit of a visual glitch here, but Cheap is just going so fast right now. And he's just able to put on these lines, and put it on the pressure too. And if he can keep playing like this, he's going to have no problem winning this game. But as I say that, Firestorm does have the line lead. Cheap cannot eat another KO or it's game. This is really close, down to the wire here. If Cheap can just stall this out for a long enough time, looks like he's going to try stalling it. Does the KO count? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We'll have to see what happened here. Once the timer sort of stops glitching. Extremely neck and neck game there. We'll have to see. I can't wait to see what happened. Oh, and that did count for Firestorm. Very tragic for Cheap there, but that was a very impressive game from both players there. And I think Cheap has sort of fallen apart a little bit after that. Um, but as I say that, able to get the KO right back, showing his sort of mental prowess. But unfortunate misdrop there from Cheap. We'll see if he's able to clear that quickly enough. Does downstack it. Oh, another misdrop there, unfortunately. And that's going to cost him a KO, and it could be more than one, knowing Firestorm's ability to sort of punish those mistakes. And it looks like that is exactly what happened. And Firestorm is just playing punishingly and just so aggressively that Cheap is just having a lot of trouble sort of countering that. And you can see that 5 KOs, not even a minute passed. And Cheap hasn't even made too many huge fatal errors that they would mostly go unpunished from most other players. But Firestorm really sort of showing why he is the player that he is, and how he was able to sort of deal with the mistakes that Cheap made and able to punish them so fiercely. And Firestorm, a little bit of interesting decision making there, but does manage to clean it up. Uh, and see, Firestorm always able to be finding these T-spins. Very efficient player, and very efficient play that we see from him today. Uh, and we'll see if Firestorm is able. 8 KOs already from Firestorm. This is a rough game for Cheap here. And his stacking is looking a lot less clean than the last couple games, I have to say. Um, Not bad by any means, but it's definitely looking like he's having some trouble this game. And we'll see, yeah, Cheap trying to go for another T-spin triple there before the end. But that's game. Almost 300 lines from Firestorm again. And is finals best of 9 or first to 9, or is it still 7? I believe it's 7, which would put Firestorm here at a match point. We'll see if Cheap is able to make something happen. Uh, I mean, if he can just sort of make a repeat of what happened Game 5, he definitely has a chance. But we'll see if he's able to make that happen. Firestorm immediately so aggressive, getting the first KO already, and that's sort of giving him a huge, massive lead. 2 KOs, 53 lines sent after not even 20 seconds. And Firestorm is going Bankai right here. And you can definitely see that in his play. 3 KOs already. He's feeling himself. I mean, he was played extremely well in Hard Drop Open to beat QMK, but honestly, here it looks even more impressive because Cheap is just such a skilled player, and to see him sort of absolutely get torn up is just crazy. And you can definitely see that look, double the lines sent there from Firestorm. And he's just sort of almost putting to shame everything Cheap's accomplished this tournament. Beating like the 3rd seed, not dropping a set, not losing a game in the bracket until this point. No one else achieved that. And then all of a sudden, he's sort of put against Firestorm and just he can't hold up with it, it seems. And it's not like Cheap is playing poorly by any means at all either. He's a very impressive Tetris player, but it's just very difficult to sort of counter the massive offense that Firestorm brings to the table. And it also sort of it puts even more pressure on you, which leads to those misdrops like Cheap's having right now. And does eat the KO there to get that T-spin, but it's looking pretty grim. Unless he's gonna need a miracle, Cheap, and it does not look like that's gonna happen. Uh, and it looks like this is game for both players here. Very impressive match, amazing players, both of these guys. And I think, and yeah, that's the end of the tournament. Congratulations to Firestorm for an amazing run. Dropped 1 game the entire tournament to Corona. Really amazing performance from him, and we can't even put down Cheap at all for his performance. Did not drop a game in the bracket until meeting Firestorm. It was crazy how well both players did, and even though this finals has such a decisive score, I think watching it, it's pretty clear to agree that a lot of those games uh, were very close and definitely worth a watch. And yeah, thank you guys for dropping by here to Worldwide Combos to see this grand finals. I'm so glad I got to commentate. I appreciate the opportunity from Noel to commentate these matches. They were extremely fast, and my voice was not able to keep up, but uh, but yeah, extremely good games to both players. Yeah, it did look like Cheap got KO'd at the last second there, but yeah, very good games to both players. But yeah, I don't know if Noel's gonna raid someone, but this is it for the tournament. So thank you all for dropping by. I hope you had a good time and learned a lot about these players. You know, it's always interesting to see top players play, just to see the sort of speed as well as the just the sort of decision making. Is there's definitely a lot to be learned from these guys. Yeah, you're all great, and I appreciate you. Have a good night. You especially, Noel, because Lord knows that you need sleep.